This is the most puzzling scandal on the list because I truly can't fathom how anybody allowed it to happen. In 1996, 7-year-old Jessica Whitney Dubroff of Pescadero, California, became a minor celebrity when it was reported that she was attempting to become the youngest pilot to fly a plane across the United States in a flight called the Sea to Shining Sea. She had 33 hours of flight training from an instructor named Joe Reed, and the flight was set to be made in 3 legs in Reed's light aircraft, and he would accompany her while she flew the plane. The trip cost her father, Lloyd Dubroff, who would also be on the plane with Joe Reed, $15,000, which he said was less than I'd pay for private school. They made merchandise, called up the media, and promoted Jessica's journey as a record event, though nobody was officially keeping record. Perhaps they were trying to keep up with the tween Vicky Van Meter, who flew a plane from Maine to California at the age of 11 in 1993. Jessica Dubroff was homeschooled, not allowed to watch TV, and her parents were unconventional, to say the least. Wrote Richard Stengel for Time. For all their new age patter, Jessica's mother and father seemed to be stage parents of the old school, pushing their daughter in front of the curtain, hoping she would become a star, Macaulay Culkin in a cockpit. The week before the flight, Jessica handed out signed photographs to members of the Half Moon City Council. Dubroff spent $1,300 on custom-made baseball caps to distribute to friends in the media. They read, Jessica Whitney Dubroff, Sea to Shining Sea, April 1996. He also primed her to write a letter to President Clinton, inviting him along for a ride. To visit you at the White House would be wonderful, she wrote in her simple child's hand. And clearly, to pilot an airplane that you would be in would bring me even greater joy. The White House did not accept. Jessica was also interviewed on all of the big 3 networks, and ABC even gave Lloyd a camera to get footage of the journey. So on April 10, 1996, they took off from Half Moon Bay, California, and flew their first leg successfully to Cheyenne, Wyoming.
At 4 feet 2 inches tall, Jessica had to sit on cushions to see out of the plane's window and have extenders to reach the pedals. Early yesterday, as she prepared her plane for the cross-country trip, she spoke of the joy of flying.
It's like floating.
Yeah. Can you describe anything else? Floating and...
It's so great to be up in the air.
Jessica talked to a flock of cameras and journalists. Described Stengel. I enjoyed it, she said, forcing a smile, sounding as always like she was imitating adult speech. I had 2 hours sleep last night. On their next takeoff, despite being warned that the weather was unsuitable, the trio left on April 11th with 96 pounds of excess weight on the plane. And the plane crashed, and everyone on board died. Wrote Stengel. Overnight, Jessica became the poster child of parental and media exploitation, of an ethos that granted children too much freedom rather than too little, of a parental drive not content to let children be children. Many wondered whether the freedom to pursue personal identity had been pushed too far. An investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board blamed poor conditions and the heavy plane, saying, contributing to the pilot in command's decision to take off was a desire to adhere to an overly ambitious itinerary, in part because of media commitments. The safety board also made sure it was known that because a child cannot legally man a flight, the actual pilot was Reed.
Jessica hoped to become the youngest pilot ever to fly cross-country, but the Guinness Book of World Records had stopped recognizing that category for fear of encouraging unsafe flights.
This scandal was a clear example of the dangers of media sensationalism, said J. Max McClellan, the editor of Flying Magazine. Jessica's flight is the kind of thing that absent media coverage would never have happened. So-called flying records by youngsters are a bogus concept. We've intentionally ignored attempts like this here at Flying because we don't want to promote the activity. It has no validity from an aviation sense. The pilot in reality is the certified pilot. Said Ted Koppel on ABC, we need to begin by acknowledging our own contribution. We feed one another, those of you looking for publicity and those of us looking for stories. Jessica's 59-year-old father, Lloyd, had been raising a newborn with his 19-year-old new wife and another newborn with his ex-wife, aka Jessica's mother, Lisa. And this is some Jerry Springer shit, I cannot lie. When he agreed to be on the fated Sea to Shining Sea flight, he took out 4 life insurance policies worth $3 million that the two women fought over after the crash. Declared Lisa when asked if she regretted allowing her 7-year-old daughter to pilot a plane. "I'd have her do it again in a second. You have no idea what this meant to Jess." Lisa also said she hoped that the legal status of youth aviation didn't change. On October 9th, Clinton signed the Federal Aviation Reauthorization Act of 1996, which included legislation that made it illegal for young pilots to attempt to fly and set records by requiring age-restricted medical certification and a private pilot's license.